When he sit here and he shows them pearly whites. Hey, hey, that's Mac the Knife, man. Taking a bite off of Macklin because they don't like my titles anymore. Hey, hey, hey. This is the Afterfight Afterthought for the Sergio Martinez Matthew Macklin fight. And what I do in these fights is I do the before, during, and after the fight for both fighters. I start out with the Afterfight, which is the winner, and then I go to the Afterthought, which is a loser. I mean, coming into this fight with Sergio Martinez, you're looking at, has age finally set in? I mean, he is 37 years old. He didn't look good against Barker. He still won by knockout. But, you know, with his style and the way he is, you know, with that kind of offensive style, we've seen it before, or a copy of it, like Roy Jones Jr., it tends to fade off as you do get older because you lose that type of reflex action, that ability to actually slip and move, the anticipation kind of stuff. Your body kind of fails you. Your mind sees it coming. You're just like, hey, I would really like to move, but I'm about to get punched in the face. You know, that's what happens. You see it coming, you just can't move out of the way, and that's why you see, you know, dudes get like really pissed because they're like, dang, I saw it coming, I just couldn't dodge it, you know. And you know, he has everything to lose in this fight, and he needs to really impress because people are starting to knock him, starting to wonder whether or not, you know, the time has kind of started to pass him. You know, that window's closed for the big fights, and will he be able to, you know, be around long enough to really get those big fights? He's waited almost too long, basically, you know, to get him. People just haven't been fighting him. Go over to Matthew Macklin. I mean, he was robbed in his last fight with Stern, right? And when you start looking at that and thinking about it, you know, is he overrated in this fight? Is he underrated? He's coming in at a 10-1 underdog. So obviously, that's kind of grossly underrated. That's basically saying, hey man, he's going to get in there and get shellacked every round, you know, get smacked around until Sergio decides to knock him out. That's usually what a 10-1 underdog happens. That's usually what happens. He's got nothing to lose in this fight if he holds his own. If he gets shellacked like that, then you're looking, he's, at best he can hope for is maybe Stern will give him a rematch because he looks so bad, you know, that kind of thing. You know, if he looks good, he's going to get the fights. He's going to get the up-and-comers, or maybe he'll snag an Andy Lee or, you know, a Daniel Gale kind of deal, you know, to really get in there and have a good one. You know, and going into the fight there, you know, I throw in a round by round too, just because I can. You know, it's a slow start. There's good work there going back. Macklin's landing his body shots, but he's eating the jabs from Martinez. Martinez, I thought, controlled the round more so than Macklin. I gave that round to Martinez. The second round was pretty much more the same. You know, Martinez landing, you know, there was a big left in that round that landed. You know, and they talked about, you know, well, he kind of stepped on his foot. And I'm like, well, if a guy gets knocked down and, you know, he trips over your leg, you know, you call it a knockdown, you better call that a good shot. You see what I'm saying? Because if you're going to have one, you got to have the other. Just saying, just throwing that out early, you know. And, you know, Macklin is throwing good body shots in this round, don't get me wrong. There are a couple that are going below, you know, the belt. Now, granted, the belt's kind of high, but if you're hitting below that belt, you know, you probably are going to hit him low regardless of how high he pulls it, because it's not like Martinez has him right under his nipples, you know what I'm saying? It's not like the belt comes up to his nipples. You can see like 4.5 tack or so, whatever, man. Guys, damn it. Anyway, he made Macklin miss a lot in that round. In fact, Macklin was only 9 of 43. And he paced himself. He took his shots when he needed to, and he pounds that jab in there. And I'm telling you, dude, jabs can hurt more than right hands, or in this case, left hands, when they're timed right, because they're closer, you're stepping in, and you're just getting caught with this jackhammer punch, man. And they can be concussive, I'm telling you. And I gave that round to Sergio Martinez as well. Going into the third was a far better round for Macklin. He was landing a lot more of his body shots. He was starting to land that right hand with a bit more regularity. Martinez was pumping the jab and trying to keep distance, but whenever, you know, I mean, Macklin really showed well with that right hand, both to upside his head and to his body. And I gave that round to Macklin. The fourth round, you know, was heating up a little bit. You know, Macklin landing the right hand. You know, Sergio pumping the jabs. You know, they're going back and forth. Nice trade. Nice left uppercut that landed by Sergio. Martinez there looked like he wobbled him a little bit there. Again, a low body shot. or low blow, kind of by Macklin. Nice right hand by Macklin, but I gave that round to Sergio Martinez. A very close round, and I mean, if you were hem-hawing about it and you wanted to give the fourth round to Macklin, I wouldn't argue it that much, but I looked at the overall, the feel of the round, and actually looked, and you could see Sergio controlling it, even though Macklin was not fighting the fight you expected him to fight. He was taking Sergio out of his comfort zone and making Sergio actually have to be the aggressor, which is what you do with a counterpuncher. And it was great in the fact that Macklin's able to hold that and keep his composure and force that and make the champion do it. And you probably heard that if you listened in the fight, there. But that was about the only thing that Merchant and those guys actually said that was worth a crap, except for Emmanuel Stewart. The other guys were just out there. I'm starting to lose a little credibility on some of them guys, but hey, they call it like they see it and they believe what they believe. So you got to kind of, they've been there, right? They've established themselves. I'm just like a bum on the internet. When you start looking at the fifth round again, this round was solidly back and forth. Both fighters had their moments. This one I was going to call a draw, but I kind of leaned a little more toward Macklin in this one. They were landing uppercuts, jabs, right hands. I mean, it was going back and forth, nice trades at the end. But again, the feel of the round, you could kind of feel edging toward Macklin. So I gave the fifth round to Macklin. The sixth round was more Sergio Martinez. He's kind of lackadaisical in this. I mean, he's pumping the jab, he's keeping his distance, he's landing those sneaky lefts, and he's working the body too. If you watch that, you can start seeing him starting to land those body shots, and he's starting to put the work in. But it's not really what you expect from Martinez. But I think maybe are we just expecting too much? I mean, he's won his last 3 fights by knockout, so what are we expecting out of him? How much more could he possibly do? I mean, do we want him just to totally dominate and decimate somebody? No, I don't think that's the case. We're actually seeing a highly competitive fight. 7th round, Sergio Martinez was winning this round, and then they come back and forth, and that's where he kind of got tripped, got hit, and they ruled it a knockdown. It's about as close to a not knockdown as you get in boxing. I mean, the glove touched, and that's why they did it. It wasn't because Martinez was hurt. It wasn't because he was dazed. It wasn't nothing of that sort. If you watch it again, go back and look, you'll see he actually kind of trips over. He actually trips over him, but he was getting hit, so they consider that a knockdown. He almost stole the round away. Honestly, he started pounding him back, and I think that was the worst thing for Macklin. The knockdown was the worst thing that could have happened for Macklin. Here he had Martinez lulled into this thing, and Martinez was busting his butt to try and figure it out, but he wasn't working. And then the knockdown came, and it seemed like Sergio was like, oh shit, and he had to kick it up another gear. And from the 8th round on, it was domination. The jabs were concussive, man. They were pounding in there. That left hand started landing in with more regularity. I mean, you could look at the 9th and 10th rounds, and if you wanted, they were almost like 10-8 rounds. He was hammering him and started dominating him in those rounds. And if you didn't, then you're blind, and you were just had that hope that maybe Macklin was going to be able to pull it out. And then by the time the 11th round came around, I mean, honestly, they could have stopped it. They should have stopped it after the first knockdown, because he was getting hit with a lot of solid flush left hands that were landing. Now people are like, well, it's not, it wasn't like there were a lot of massive amount of power behind him, but it's better to get knocked out by 1 shot than to get knocked down by 20. Okay? And just because the damage that's happening. And if you don't think that jab was damaging Macklin, you're crazy. I mean, it was happening, and obviously Macklin was out. And in the end there, I still scored, I scored the 11 rounds. I had it 106 to 100 for Martinez. And it was going to get worse. It was going to get worse if the fight did continue. Buddy McGirt, I think he did a great thing in stopping that fight. Hats off to Macklin. He did what you would, kind of did a little bit better than what you expected, but at the same time, I think Martinez did what ultimately you wanted him to do. If you just watched the fight from the 8th round on, you'd be like, what fight did you guys watch, bro? If you just saw it from the 8th round on, it didn't even look like the fight that was happening the first 6 rounds. Okay? And I think after the 6 rounds, that's when Martinez actually started to take over the fight. and he would have won the 7th round had he not been knocked down. I know he got knocked down, right? But I'm talking about if you looked at all of it and just took that glove, tink, touch in the ground, Martinez actually won that round. So, as I said, he needs, going over to Martinez, when you look at the Afterfight, he needs to change something in his game. He's going to have to incorporate a little more D. The hands at his waist thing is starting to go by the wayside because he was getting hit by a guy that was noticeably slower than he was. And if he can get tagged by that, a fighter with a little more speed is going to land a little more. You feeling me? And then you start getting into the accumulation effect of punches and stuff like that. What if he was hit 20 more times to the body? What if he did get hit 10 more right hands to the head? When you start thinking about that, how would he have been fighting later on? And that's a dangerous thing. That's we've seen it happen before. And Roy Jones Jr., who's arguably one of the greatest fighters of all time, and he refused to adapt his style. He said, "I'm doing it my way. I'm going out my way," and he went out his way. And hats off to him for doing it. He's great. But at the same time, had he had changed his style even a little bit, I believe, he'd probably still be fighting today. Because of his ability, in doing that. But I think right now he needs to get that Julio Cesar Chavez fight as soon as he possibly can. He can't wait on this. Forget about Mayweather. He wouldn't be looking at Mayweather for another year and a half, and I think that's a dangerous fight there, buddy, because Mayweather's a pot shotter. You want to talk about a guy that's not going to change his game plan? Mayweather's going to sit in there and pick you apart, man. Especially if you're losing a little bit of your speed, and Mayweather's a lot faster than Macklin will ever be. So, and you look at maybe a Daniel Gale, because, he's like ranked number 2 by BoxRec and stuff. Andy Lee. These are all nice little fights there for him. He can't really do the Sturm-Zivik fight because they're fighting each other. And that kind of translates over to Macklin. He's kind of in a weird area right now because Sturm, who the rematch should be with, because absolutely no rematch with Martinez, that shouldn't happen at all, because he's not in that league. You have Sturm fighting Zivik, and I think he deserves a shot at that. And if not, maybe he has to take a middle fight in there before that fight, and that would be a good one to go against Dmitry Pirog. That'd be another good one, maybe even to go with Paul Williams if he's still fighting. I don't know. Is he still fighting? Well, I don't know. But then you look at a Lee, coming in there, Andy Lee. That would be a nice one to see him go in against. Just to kind of show, hey, I'm here, I'm still hanging out. So, much respect for Macklin. He did better than I thought he would. When you're looking at a fight almost being even after 6 rounds, or even at 6 rounds, and actually taking the lead, after the 7th round, hey, what more could you ask for? You're fighting the pound for pound number 3 in the world, and you're winning the fight after 7. But he woke up the sleeping monster, and he paid for that. Well, anyway, please comment, rate, subscribe. Let me know what you think about this. And be my friend, be Eduardo's friend. That whole stuff. All right? Well, hey, it's a Bigragu. I'm out.